Are you guys ready to get started?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we'll do that then. So this is going to be an overview of kind of Twitch live streaming in general, and then this idea of family-friendly or safe for work content on the website. So I'll probably spend the first third talking about Twitch and kind of showing you a little bit about it, and then I'll go into the next part about the family-friendly component. And then lastly, I'll leave it for questions. So think of questions, please. I will answer them all at the end. So first off, we're going to open the website itself so you get an idea of what it is. This is twitch.tv. It's a live streaming website, and there are all these streamers and viewers. And so I thought I'd walk through a few examples of what the streams are. Right now, this stream that we're looking at is currently the world, some kind of championship for chess. And we have 15,000 people watching this. And I believe the player, I've never tuned into this particular stream before, but we have the commentators over here on the right, and we have the players over here on the left.
So if Hikaru goes E3 here,
I think perhaps then you have to watch out for 95.
Yeah,
Right.
so
There's
they're
still some
talking
tactics
through it.
there.
And on the right, you
Rook
have
D8.
this
Well, I have
ever-moving
95 immediately,
chat
but
of
I actually
everyone
also
that's
have,
watching and
now that I think about
just
it,
commenting to
95,
each other. And this is
suddenly
kind of the
there's a weakness
structure
on G6. So this
of
is why I really like
Twitch.
that
And it's
we
actually not
are
too
getting this
different from
opportunity to take back
like
the
a
night,
Zoom call.
because at least you generate
They
some
very think
activity,
of it
which,
in a very similar
in
way,
some variations
except with
can
our
play
Zoom
in a
call,
quarter role.
15,000 people
So
aren't watching.
Hikaru's thinking
Right
here, I
now.
do
That's the main
think
difference.
something like E3, just to
But
get the
you can
square
see
makes
like
sense.
there's a
Of course,
title here,
the
there's
pawn could be a
logos,
little bit of
and
a
so
target,
some
but
streamers are
that
really creative with how they design it. This kind of speaks to more of what John was talking about with the roots of Twitch. This is a guy I follow named Fuzziness. He is currently playing The Legend of Zelda, but he's...
I love how it works first try.
I think he's practicing right now, but he has a timer up here. And
That's a
he's
classic.
trying to beat the game as quickly as possible for a world
Oh, it
record.
actually failed.
And we have
It was 1 frame too early.
145 people watching him do this.
Interesting. It's never happened before.
And yeah, and that's just,
My
this is
timing
kind of
on
the roots of it.
site
It's
must
people
be wrong.
playing games, and sometimes you're really skilled at a game, sometimes you're just a personality. But I'm a big fan of Fuzziness myself, so I watch him off and on. But it's not just gaming related things. It's also, this is IRL or in real life category that has just chatting, which is actually the most popular category nowadays, despite what people might think. It's actually just people chatting and talking. It's not gaming, which is interesting. But there's animals, there's sports, there's health and fitness, even a stream dedicated to a bunch of ducks.
This chick's so picky.
And so I'm going to mute Fuzziness here because I realize we don't need his commentary over the ducks. And so you have a literal live stream. I guess this is 4 different cameras of just ducks, and 500 people are watching this right now. And you can donate, and when you donate, it donates to the zoo or the place that hosts it, and you just have this on in the background, or people will be watching it. And I mean, I could go on and on about live streaming. There is so much. The technology allows you to do so many cool things. Like you can type things in chat that affect the stream. You can like, it's just, people are so creative with how they execute it. They have custom overlays and like little information. It shows the humidity and the air temperature, and every stream is super customized and super different. So anyway, that gives you a little taste of Twitch and kind of what it is now, what it's become. So next I want to talk about, we're going to have duck sound effects the whole time if I don't mute this. So there's kind of 3 main types of creators on Twitch. There are the skill-based ones, which are kind of like, I would say, like the speedrunner that you saw playing Zelda. He's known for being really good at speedrunning games, so he's on all the leaderboards. On Twitch, there's a event called AGDQ, which is Awesome Games Done Quick. And they play games as fast as possible, and they all raise money for charity. So they'll raise money for, like, fighting cancer, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But speedrunners are really active on Twitch. And then you have the personality-based streamers. And they constitute the vast majority of creators. And essentially, you follow someone, and you just get to know them. The best way for me to describe it is, like, if you were to characterize millennials love reality TV, where they'll watch The Bachelor or something like that, and they'll really connect with the characters there. But Gen Z, this newer wave coming in, they kind of see through that. They see through the American Idol that is all kind of staged and all that, and they kind of crave the more authentic, real world live people. And so that's when I say personality based. What's essentially happening is Gen Z are kind of investing in these parasocial relationships where they think that they're friends with the person on the screen, but the person on the screen has a maybe very surface level understanding of who the person is. And that's a topic for another time, but that's personality based. And the last one would be kind of like the chess one that we saw. It's kind of event based or it's novelty. Someone streamed themselves biking across the continent, and someone hitchhiked across the United States, went to every major city, and they live streamed that. So there's all sorts of creative, interesting ways, and that I would kind of put that in that third category of novelty. When it comes to the space compared to competitors, Twitch for a very long time dominated it, but recently YouTube Live has kind of exploded and really sliced a big chunk of that. And so with Twitch has 4.7 million hours watched, and this is as of 2020. So this has actually changed. And I would say Facebook has actually gone down a little bit, and YouTube has actually grown. This is as of 2020, so in a few years. Obviously, the pandemic happened, a lot of things changed. And speaking of the pandemic, here is viewership trends for Twitch. You see in 2013, I think if I recall correctly, when it was originally Justin TV, they rebranded to Twitch in 2012. So that would be just the beginning of this. And then in 2014, Twitch got acquired by Amazon. So Amazon actually owns Twitch. And as you can see, something happened during the pandemic. Viewership shot up because, as you know, by your own habits, maybe of watching more Netflix than you did before, you kind of ran out of stuff to do. And so live streaming became another thing that you would do. But this doesn't tell the whole picture. People learned about streaming and they said, oh, that sounds fun. I want to do that too. So you can see here the viewers and streams both shot up. But this ratio here, the ratio of viewers to streamers was in the beginning was really high. There was tons of viewers compared to streamers. But then over time, as it became easier to do and more accessible, and especially during the pandemic and now, that ratio is at an all-time low. So there's basically too many streamers with 0 viewers and not enough viewers in general. That's kind of how it is. Like if you start off on Twitch, you're going to think, man, and by the way, shout out to Corey, because to do the Gigster live streams, he's had to use the OBS software, and that's not an easy thing to do. It's actually a pretty big learning curve to learn how to use open broadcasting software to even do streams. So when I joined and I found out that Corey learned it in like a couple months, I was very impressed. So shout out to Corey for that. But all that to say, there are kind of 3 main problems with Twitch, and now the biggest one is there's no great discovery method. So before I kind of showed you the categories, I'm going to go back to that for a second. You have kind of these buckets, and they show streams. There is a way to discover stuff, but if you think about the current meta of social media, if you think about TikTok and YouTube, they have really aggressive algorithms that kind of show you content that they want you to see, and Twitch is really bad at that, and it's constantly their downfall. So in other words, if Corey said, "Man, I am just such an expert streaming for Gigster. I want to start my own career as a streamer on the side," it is going to be very, very difficult to attract viewers. In the beginning, when Twitch was just starting out, it was very easy because so we look at this ratio, the odds that viewers were going to find you are very high. But now it's so saturated, so it's very hard. You basically have to use YouTube or another platform to get discovered, to get people to view your stream. And that brings us to the second problem, which on YouTube, if you upload a video, that video is going to be available for the rest of time, and anyone can look it up at any time. With live streams, you're only active for a certain period. Like this presentation, for example, if someone doesn't show up, they're going to miss it. Now, of course, you can watch the recording later, but a big part of Twitch, obviously, is engaging with the viewer. So if you type in chat, the viewer is going to see that and talk to you and stuff, and that's all going to be missed if you don't see it the minute that it's live. And then the last part is an unpredictable viewing experience. And this is because in a casual setting, it's very difficult to predict what the content of the stream is going to be, right? If you live with other people, for example, and of course you guys all know this from the compilations of Zoom calls where someone's in an important meeting and their kid bursts in and embarrasses them or whatever. That happens to everyone, but especially in a casual setting, who knows what can happen? And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So really, I was trying to brainstorm the solution to this because I love the website and I really believe in it. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, I didn't know that you streamed on Twitch. Like, do you think my daughter can watch?" And I thought, "Oh, of course. Like, of course she can watch. I conduct myself in a I would consider safe for work manner. I don't do anything inappropriate." And I thought, well, that isn't very obvious. I think there's a lot of parents that are concerned about this website because it has a mixed reputation of being kind of adult oriented because people don't censor themselves, and there are filters and things. There's like an 18+ warning, but they're not very sophisticated. Sometimes it slips through the cracks. So I created a stream team called Family Friendly Live, and I will play a little video of that to kind of show what it is. I created this video to kind of market the team, so I will play that now.
It's the weekend. You're with your family and you have some downtime. You decide to pull up your favorite live streaming website. Much to your embarrassment, the front page features a broadcaster who is screaming profanity, so you quickly hit the mute button. Phew, I don't think Dad heard that. Headphones in, you stick around for a bit and send a friendly message in chat, but it is clear you're not welcome. Just when you were going to leave the site, you spot another stream with Family Friendly in the title. Immediately, you notice a different tone. The chat welcomes you in, and the streamer treats you like a friend. Instead of saying something profane, they throw in a heck instead. When a topic turns off color, they steer the discussion in a different direction. You unplug your headphones and watch without worry. And your little cousin even begins watching with you. This is the experience we strive for as family-friendly live streamers. Everyone should be included and feel welcome. We want to be the safe-for-work content you play during your break or the video stream you're playing after Thanksgiving dinner. You won't hear a "my heavens" from Grandma this time. The internet, being the internet, means we're a target for trolls. But with the right tools in place and our tight-knit community in full force, we're prepared. We're Family Friendly Live, the most accessible broadcasters on the web.
So if that voice sounds familiar to you, that's because that's the narrator from Bill Nye the Science Guy, who happens to be a family friend of ours, and he offered to do this pro bono. So shout out to Pat Cashman, you're a real one. So anyway,
It's the week.
that gives you an idea of kind of the positioning.
Good for you, by the way, that you did that. I mean, that's being that I don't actually think that you have any kids yet. It's really cool that you kind of saw that niche that was needed and did that. It's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, and it was all around this idea of, first off, there's an opportunity to solve each of those three problems. You can think about our stream team is kind of a rating system for streams, which isn't really in place right now. You have obviously PG, G for movies, and you have for video games, you have the E rating, the T rating. So the goal is to kind of be a rating for streamers in their communities. So to go back to kind of like the three problems of Twitch, so it helps with discovery because our team's going to share each other's streams with their viewers. The always on factor, if someone's not live, one person of our 40 team members is probably live. And lastly, it's a much more predictable viewing experience than anywhere else. So we conduct ourselves in a certain way. Everyone on the team agrees to a certain amount of the way that they conduct themselves and what they stream. But interestingly enough, that's actually led to some problems. And we realized not everybody agrees on what family friendly means. It depends on your household. It depends on the rules you set up, right? And Twitch has a family friendly tag on their website. So you can actually tag your streams family friendly. They define it as streams that feature little, if any, swearing, games, or topics that are appropriate for viewers of all ages, and high levels of moderation. And high levels of moderation mostly refers to, in chat, obviously, you can be a troll and you can say mean things, or you can say inappropriate things. And moderation basically means you have people in your chat deleting bad comments or, helping set the tone. So a heavily moderated chat is obviously a better place for families. But what I found is people will throw on the family friendly tag and there's just no rules to it at all. It's like someone they'll put it on ironically and they'll play like the goriest, most adult oriented game they can think of and they'll throw on the family friendly tag. So it's kind of not a great system. So we kind of have our own definition of it as a team, but in reality, it kind of changes from stream to stream. And by the way, Twitch as a website is 13+. So if you're under 13, you shouldn't even be signed into the website. You can maybe watch a few streams, but you shouldn't be using it according to their terms of service. And then the last thing I kind of wanted to focus on before I went to the last aspect of it is kind of what constitutes a stream, and like what are your levels of control. Again, we can relate this to a Zoom call. So there's kind of 4 different aspects of it. There's the broadcaster, which in this case would be me as an individual. B is the text chat, which if we want to use, text chat for this Zoom call right now, it's been used this whole time, and that's a component of a live stream. And then C is the content, so what you're looking at right now. And then D is if someone interrupts me right now and starts talking, that's considered audio chat apart from the broadcaster. So those are all 4 distinct elements that you have to control. And each one has a different level of ability to control it. So you have yourself, and hopefully if you have good self-control, that's a very high rate of control. But text chat is kind of hit or miss, because you can have certain tools that will help you, but obviously you need to be on it. If someone comes in chat and says something inappropriate, you have to like delete it or whatever. So I would say consider that a medium. For content, and that entirely depends if you're familiar with the content or not. So if you're reacting blind, or you're reacting to the first time to something, whether it's a video, a game you haven't played, that is going to be very low control because you don't know what's coming. But if you're rewatching something, if you're replaying something, or you're doing something like a cooking stream, or you're doing something like a hiking stream, you have a lot more control over that. And then lastly, if you're in a voice chat with other people, you don't necessarily have a lot of control. You can basically say, hey guys, I'm streaming. I want to kind of keep it safe for work. I want to keep it appropriate and hope that they comply. But ultimately, you don't have control over what other people say or do in the voice chat. So from a marketing standpoint, the idea behind it was, here are all these channels where we exist. Get them to one family-friendly stream. And then from there, the person's going to engage with the stream. The streamer is going to be friendly towards that person, so they're going to join their community. And at some point, they're going to endorse another family-friendly live streamer, and the cycle will continue. And currently, we have 40 team members, and we have a combined total of 150,000 followers across all of our creators. So that's been pretty great. And the last thing, I'm going to open up to questions here in a little bit, but the last thing I wanted to talk about was the giving aspect. So one thing that we do a lot is we raise money for charity. And so just last year alone, we raised $17,000 for organizations like St. Jude's Children's Hospital, Ronald McDonald's House Charities, Humane Society, some of the logos you see here, and many more. And these are only a sampling of some of the creators who have participated in raising money for that. So streams are ultimately a side hobby, I would say. And for a very, very small people, it's actually a full-time job. But overall, it's always just fun to rally together and raise money for something that is important and beyond us. So with all that to be said, I would love what questions that you have about Twitch, live streaming, the Family Friendly team, anything that you got.
In general,
So
are most people that are producing content just single persons, or?
Yes. Yeah, by far. Here's another problem I didn't talk about is there's so many ads on Twitch, and I have an ad blocker, so you can't see anything. But there are 3 more ads after this, and that's another big problem with the website. Anyway, yeah, if you browse the website, the vast majority of them are individuals.
Got it. Yeah, just I don't know if it's my age or whatever. Right, there's too much shit going on right now.
Yep.
Okay.
Very overwhelming at first.
Yeah.
I mean, so what do you think that this, like, so what I find interesting, right, it's that like this this idea of like real-time consumption of content versus like pre-recorded content is kind of a pretty fascinating, I think, consumer shift, right? So do you think that in the how do you see this impacting like beyond streaming like games into like maybe more like mainstream media of like live instant content versus like pre-recorded content?
That's a great question, Corey. I went to MozCon several years ago, and for those of you not familiar, Moz is kind of a really well-known SEO tool founded by Rand Fishkin, and he doesn't work there anymore, but he was one of the main speakers. And it's a huge marketing conference, tons of people go. And at the end, I actually asked him myself. I said, "Hey, like this was a huge conference. There were dozens of speakers. We talked about Salesforce, we talked about HubSpot, we talked about email, social media, everything, but no one ever talked about Twitch." And he said, "Well, I mean, Twitch and Discord, that's kind of a gamer thing." And so that's very much the perception of like it's kind of a game thing. But there's a few things to that. One, like I mentioned earlier, the just chatting category, the non-gaming category, is actually the most viewed category on Twitch today. So that's something to pay attention to. The second thing is the average view duration of a stream is better than the average listening duration of a podcast. So you talk about retention and all that, and people are talking about, yeah, you need to make a podcast. What are you guys doing? And making everyone feel bad that they don't have a podcast. But I'm over here sitting here like the average viewing retention of a stream is actually longer. I think it's like 30 if for any given average 2-hour stream, it's like 30 minutes. That's a long time. So anyway, it's hard to predict exactly who's going to catch wind of this and who's really going to capitalize on it. I know there's been some attempts to with mixed results, but I think if I have to be honest, I think TikTok live streaming is going to take it because they have a very sophisticated discovery method, and that's the biggest thing that Twitch is missing right now.
Yeah, and what about, I guess maybe double clicking on that, I guess, and I don't know, does Twitch actually have a replay, like a YouTube-like model where you can actually go back and watch the live streams? And I guess
Yes.
what percentage of their viewers are truly live, versus, the folks that just go back and watch that game content or whatever?
Yeah, so the vast majority are the live viewers, and very little of that traffic is watching the stream afterwards, which is called a VOD, video on demand. So a very small amount. But you'll see if I go to Fuzziness' stream, that Zelda speedrunner we were watching earlier, if you click videos, there's this recent categories or recent broadcast category. So you can see a stream from yesterday, from 2 days ago, from 3 days ago, and this one has 1,000 views, but that's combining the views that he had live and any views after that. But then there's also highlights, so people can clip little. Usually, what happens on Twitch is people will get like a little 1-minute clip of something, and then they'll share that little short clip from the stream. I'm trying to find a good example on the fly here, but hopefully that answers the question.
You're saying most of them are not VODs, most of them are live.
Yes.
Okay, so it really is a different segment, right? Because like my kids, they're all over YouTube, just like even more so. Like the younger generation actually spends even more time on YouTube than us old folks. But YouTube is obviously pre-recorded and and what have you. So this is literally the other use case. This is like real-time TV content for them.
Yes.
Which they never, and it's funny when we actually turn on the TV, like I will actually even, like I'm watching sports or something, and I will get the question, oh, is this live? Right. And, that notion of like even asking that question, for a sports event and things like that is so foreign to them because they spend most of their time on YouTube. So I guess on the Twitch world, it really is like that sports equivalent. Right. And maybe that's actually another follow-up question is like, like the esports world, right? It seems like that would go hand in hand with Twitch. I imagine that do they partner a lot together or?
Oh yeah, Twitch sponsors a lot of esports streams. Oh, let's go. Oh, there's a rerun. It's not live, unfortunately. But my favorite esport, Super Smash Bros. Melee, this is a rerun of a tournament from that. It's not live, unfortunately. It's a rerun, but it's still got 61 views, and they got to run their ad first. But
yeah, what I found interesting too about watching from just a perception standpoint of watching replays of live streams is that it's similar to watching like a replay of a live sports game, in that
Yep.
a lot of the experience and enjoyment is the actual live factor in it, which is it's kind of curious to think about from like a headspace side, right? Like watching a replay of a football game that happened months ago is kind of lame, right? Unless you're, I guess, super into it. But a lot of the sports thing is that because it's live, there's the ability for unplanned events or occurrences to happen, and knowing that you are seeing this for the first time with everyone else in the world is kind of cool, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess that's probably good, and that's probably an interesting point too, because YouTube, is typically not right. It's some kind of content that was produced. Like my kids love game theory and food theory on YouTube, right? It's obviously a great production value, right? But it's totally different than like, and I even think of my own use case, right? Like I've got no desire to go and watch, whatever the AFC playoffs on YouTube from last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, right? So like the notion of like watching a game live is probably different than the YouTube content, which is just a different category. And I guess I never really thought about those two differently from a distribution perspective.
Yep. And YouTube's trying to break into that live thing. So they do have a live section, but it's kind of hard to find, and they have a lot of work to do to improve that experience.
What are the
Sorry, go ahead.
What are the social dynamics in between viewers like? I see there's a stream chat, but do people interact with each other much, or is it very centered on the stream?
People interact with each other on chat all the time. So like, I know when I stream, people say hi to each other, and they're having their own conversation in chat sometimes. But the focus really is the streamer, but people build little communities, and they talk to each other like they're friends. And that's where Discord comes in, which I didn't have time to talk about at all, but Discord is, if you don't know about Discord, it is freaking exploding. And I joined it back in 2015 when it was a tiny little service, but it is huge. It's basically like Slack, but way better, and all free. And to answer your question, Umberto, that's where a ton of the community building happens. They'll start these relationships in chat, and then they'll go to Discord and really like hang out with each other in voice chats and stuff.
Got it. Thank you.
I think the other interesting one is too, from like a partnerships and revenue model, like when streams will do drops.
Yep.
So like a stream will partner with a video game, and if you watch a certain amount of time of that streamer's stream, you unlock digital content within partner products, right? Which is a pretty interesting business model, which is cool as well.
It is.
What's kind of because it's live, you have demographics across like time zones. Is it heavily US centric? Like, is there like crap or it's more international during the off hours? Like, what is that like?
Yeah, it's a good mix. I would say a lot of it's US centric, but there's obviously an audience in Australia that's pretty big. There's Asia that's pretty big, and Europe. So they all have their own little spikes in viewership. So like if I were to stream really early my time zone, I'd be hitting most of the time zones. So like East Coast might be the best position to have like a normal stream schedule, because they're going to be the most congruent with Europe. But if I stream really late my time zone, then the Asia audience starts being viewers. So it kind of depends on what audience you're going for.
They monetize. How do the streamers monetize this? Is it all ads, and how do you intend to monetize yours if you do?
Thank you for asking that. That's a huge thing that I missed. The way that you monetize streams is there's a few things. There's ads, which most average streamers like me get very little money from. Mostly it's like subscriptions, so people can subscribe for like $5 a month, and that unlocks perks like custom emotes you can use. Like see all these emotes that people are using? Some of them are available for all Twitch users, and some are only available because they've actually subscribed to this particular creator, and they can use them in chat, and you can't if you don't subscribe. And then also there's like a donation. There's like donation. Here's the donation link, and it's like it's a Stream Elements link, or it's PayPal Pay or something. And the bonus is, the incentive to do that is your name will pop up and appear with whatever message that you send, and that's kind of like the incentive to do it. But one, you're supporting the creator that you like, and two, you kind of get a bit of the limelight by having your name appear. And man, Gen Z loves that stuff. So like if I were to follow this guy, my name might appear and say, "Oh, thanks for the follow," or whatever. And then that will extend all the way to them donating, them subscribing, or however they could monetize. And there's also bits, which is Twitch's own currency, where 1 bit equals 1 cent, and you can like send bits someone's way, and it's a whole other way of engagement.
So you gotta be like very, very close early on in the team combo, and then you can like get a third party. It's a little bit like team combo in Puff, I feel.
I know we're at time. I don't know how you want to handle this, Robin, but I'm down to wrap up. We're done.
I just am curious if is that just really watching people eat in their car?
Yes.
And now I want to go back. Like I know I just have to watch these people eat in the car.
These are celebrity streamers, though. They're not just any old
Oh.
people. These are well-known streamers. So
That's funny. And do
Apparently, I don't know them.
they censor content too, presumably?
are you seeing that in the chat? What do you mean by censor?
Meaning that like it seems like this can
Just
go
in
terribly
general.
wrong on the internet, right? When you start doing live stream other stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Well, have you heard of swatting? So what people will do that are very mean-spirited is they will find out where a streamer lives, and they will call the SWAT team on them, and they will break in the door, and it actually is traumatized and ruin the lives of individual streamers because people think it's funny to do that. So now I think actually Seattle was the first city to make it illegal to SWAT, or you can get on a whitelist. That's what it is. If you're a streamer, you can get on a whitelist, so you don't get swatted, basically. So that is a very real world danger that the world's slowly getting better about, more sophisticated around.
very cool. Well,
Great
I gotta
stuff,
go,
yeah.
but this was super interesting. So I appreciate you educating us old folks on this. But it's a whole new area, right? Where just e-games, esports as a whole was an area that kind of broke my brain originally, but then having it be twitched online and what have you is a whole nother area. It's really, really cool. So thank you for this education. I think this is super, super fascinating. And I also love the FFL stuff, man. That's really, really cool. So
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, big thanks to David for kicking off. This is our first real lunch and learn session, so this has been fantastic, and big props for you stepping up and educating us. And now I'm super intrigued. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. We'll do another one next month. Be thinking of anything that you might want to share with the team, but this is a great opportunity for us to come together and learn something new.
all right.
Thanks,
Cheers,
everyone.
man. All right, bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.